Entry-level hiring at the Big Four and major tech firms has collapsed by up to 50% since ChatGPT launched. AI now does a quarter of the work once handed to junior analysts, paralegals, and coders. And the generation paying for it isn't lazy. They're the first in modern history being shut out of the career ladder before they even reach the first rung. The data on this is brutal. Let me show you. Start here. Youth unemployment across the developed world is climbing, and fast. In the UK, the rate for 15 to 24-year-olds has pushed back toward 14%. In France, it's still hovering near 17%. Canada and Australia both posting youth jobless rates above 11%, levels we haven't consistently seen outside a recession. Even Germany, the world's apprenticeship superpower, is ticking upward after a decade of decline. This isn't a blip. Since 2022, the moment generative AI hit the enterprise, the curve bends the wrong way in almost every advanced economy I pulled. The countries with the most sophisticated white-collar labor markets are leading the slide. That is not what a healthy economy looks like. That's a structural break. Now the counter-argument I keep hearing, the job market is fine. Unemployment is near record lows. Watch what happens when I overlay total unemployment against youth unemployment. In the US, headline unemployment is around 3.6%. Youth unemployment, more than double that. In the UK, the gap has widened to over 9 percentage points. France, a 10-point gap. Japan and Korea, traditionally tight labor markets, are now showing youth jobless rates 3 to 4 times the national average. For 20 years, these two lines moved together. They don't anymore. This is the decoupling, and it's the single most important labor chart of the decade. The economy isn't broken. The entry point is. Here's where it gets darker. The unemployment rate only counts people actively looking. It misses the ones who've stopped. That's where NEET comes in. Young people, not in education, employment, or training. In Italy, the NEET rate is north of 19%. The US sits around 13%. The UK is climbing back through 12%. France above 12%. These are millions of young people who have functionally exited the economy. Not on vacation, not in school, not job hunting, just out. When entry-level postings vanish, you don't get a recession headline. You get a quiet generation that gives up, and that's exactly what the data is showing. Now follow the money. I pulled R&D spending as a share of GDP, the cleanest proxy we have for AI and automation investment. Korea spends nearly 5% of GDP on R&D. The US is over 3.4%. Germany above 3%. Japan above 3.3%. These are the countries pouring capital into the exact tools designed to replicate junior knowledge work. And those same countries, Korea, the US, Japan, Germany, the UK, are showing the steepest divergence between youth and adult unemployment. The correlation is not subtle. The more a country invests in automating cognitive labor, the harder it is for a 22-year-old to get hired. The productivity boom and the youth hiring collapse are the same story. Last piece. Where do entry-level white-collar jobs actually live? The services sector. Law, finance, consulting, tech, media, marketing. In the US, services are nearly 78% of GDP. UK, 72%. France, 70%. These are the economies most exposed to large language models, because services is what large language models do. Manufacturing economies have physical bottlenecks. Service economies don't. When a junior consultant's deck, a paralegal's brief, and an analyst's spreadsheet can all be drafted by an AI in 30 seconds, the rung of the ladder you used to climb on simply stops existing. The countries highest on this chart are precisely where the entry-level collapse is sharpest. That is not a coincidence. That is the mechanism. So, let's call it. Gen Z isn't lazy. They're not entitled. They're the first cohort in modern history being algorithmically locked out of the career ladder before they can step on it. The data is unambiguous. Youth unemployment is decoupling from adult unemployment, NEET rates are climbing, and the countries leaning hardest into AI investment in service-heavy economies are exactly where this fracture is widest. We used to absorb new workers by handing them the easy tasks. Those tasks are gone. Nobody's planning for what comes next. Not governments, not companies, not universities. The productivity boom you keep hearing about is being paid for by a generation we're quietly erasing from the workforce. That's the verdict. The numbers don't leave room for another reading. If you want the charts behind the headlines, the actual data, not the vibes, subscribe. Every week I take one narrative the media is fumbling and rebuild it from the raw numbers. No opinions, just receipts.